Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday. What's up, TJRS fam? We already got folks in the chat jumping in. Ready for some joy, says Jennifer Griffin, 3045. Happy Monday to the whole team from Yolanda Payne Morse, 4448. And that is all on YouTube. A big up to everybody that's not just on the YouTube, also who's on Substack, also if you're on Twitch, also if you're on Facebook. Big up to everybody, whether you are on audio and audio podcast platform, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're a LinkedIner, we appreciate you all as well. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Hey, Jason, I don't hear you.
Did you have a good weekend this weekend?
I had a very interesting weekend.
You were up at ViewerCon. How was that?
ViewerCon was amazing.
You know, up to now, you still haven't told me how that was.
Well, because you have to hear it on the show.
Oh, is that what I got to do?
Yeah. Okay. ViewerCon was amazing. I'm going to say this. If next year, ViewerCon is going to be what like Comic-Con and Star Trek Con, it's going to be at that level. I mean, first of all, the turnout was fantastic, even in pouring monsoon rain.
Wow.
It was incredibly successful. And I think anyone who wasn't there last year is going to be falling all over themselves to get tickets next year. And big up, by the way, I met one of our winners, Jason. One of our winners who won free tickets. I got a chance to meet. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to meet all of the winners, but I did get a chance to meet one, take a picture with her, and she did. And you know, my brain don't work good. I'm gonna put it out of menopause. But she was lovely, lovely, lovely. If you're watching to the winner who I met, please shout yourself out in the chat.
Let me know where you guys are watching from, man. Please put it in the comments where you guys watching.
Yeah, we want to know guys where. Yeah, exactly.
I know we asked you this, but I'm curious. I want to see what's.
You know where Raven Wolf on Twitch is watching from? Work.
That's a good place to watch.
Don't say nothing. We Raven, don't worry. We won't tell. Right. In Arizona, so we won't tell on you,
Jersey
Raven.
In the place. We got Fascist Florida. So
Fascist Florida. Come on.
San Antonio, Texas. We got Anaheim, California.
Let's pick up our lemon readers. You know, we do love our lemon heads readers. And there was at one point when I was on with Don, I was on Don earlier, big up to Don Lemon. He had me on to talk about the Nolan Wells funeral.
Antigua.
Yeah. And there were lemon reader cousins, meaning they also watched Read This, Read That. So I had lemon reader cousins in the chat. 100%, like people who are like a threefer. Big up, let me get the Substack folks in. Renee is in there with the little accent aigu over the Renee. So we appreciate Renee. So yeah, wherever you're shouting, wherever you're, San Francisco, they were in the YouTube chat. We got lemon heads with their lemons. They always throw the lemons up. We got my sorors in the house. Big up to the AKAs. The AKAs announced their new round of honoraries today. So congratulations to the AKAs. They're in their convention right now, Jason. So Miss Kim, big up to Miss Kim and all my AKA friends. Shouts out to the D9.
Oh, yeah.
Brooklyn, New York in the house. We got to always big up Brooklyn. We always love Brooklyn.
Westchester.
Renee was there. Renee says she was at ViewerCon. Renee, let us know in the Substack chat how you enjoyed ViewerCon. It was really, I thought it was fantastic. We got Benita on Substack, who's in Detroit. We got Oakland, California, Nashua with all caps. We love that. We getting some love here, Jason, from Patrice Robinson, who loves me and you. You're getting a shout out as well. We got San Francisco greetings from Chanel Freeman Blackwell. We got Cedar Grove, North Carolina. Tom Freeman Stewart. That sounds like a very important person's name. That sounds like a CEO's name. Vancouver Island. Oh my gosh. Hello, Canada. Come on, Canada. Take us with you. Help. Florida. Let me jump here to this Facebook chat. But yes, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Or that if you are paying attention and watching us, hit like and subscribe. We are learning a lot about the algorithm and the algorithm on especially YouTube. We all have algorithm, and all of the algorithm and all of them really, ties shows that have a lot of who hit like, share button, who subscribe, and who are lurkers don't best to prioritize people who are actually subscribers and who also hit like and share and chat.
Yeah, we're having a little. I guess it's raining outside, so it's kind of.
Oh, maybe it's the rain.
Maybe that's.
Blame it on the rain.
But she is coming back on this side. I mean, let's see if because it's frozen on YouTube.
I'm not frozen. No, I can see myself, but I see myself on YouTube. I'm looking at myself on YouTube.
So keep on going.
Yeah, so we'll keep going. All right, so let's let everybody know. Hopefully we're back because it says, Sora, you are glitchy. I'm glitchy. I'm breaking up, they said. We got a tragedy in Guyana. Oh my gosh, a boat sunk and multiple bodies missing, says Kim Ab, saying I'm going to look that up and see what's going on in my mother's home country of Guyana. So hopefully that will be okay.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get any more of these freezes because I believe it's raining and stormy outside. So
yeah, because we got good connection. Everything is fine there on that end. So yes, it was saying we got a glitchy on Twitchy, says Raven Wolf. We got glitchy on Twitchy as well.
Bear with us, family. It's the weather. Bear with us.
Ooh, gremlins. Yeah, we don't like gremlins. Okay, we're gonna hope that everything goes through. The good thing about it is we record the show as we're doing it streaming live and we record it live. So if it gets glitchy or anything, you can go back and watch. Hopefully it'll be non-glitchy in the recording. Let me know before we go any further that the show, the Joy Reid Show, is brought to you by our friends at Forkful. And we know eating can be difficult when life gets busy, and finding time for planning or cooking can be a challenge. Most meal kits promise convenience, but require a whole lot of prep and cleanup. Joy don't have time for that. No. Meal services often use industrial seed oils that can be harmful to your body, and takeout and processed food, especially ultra processed foods, not good for you, especially if you're getting over 4.0. You do not want to do that. And so you don't want to do, sacrifice quality ingredients and taste for convenience, because you can really harm your health that way. So you do not want to be eating ultra processed foods. And so what you really want to do is find foods that are going to give you flavor, function, and health. That's your three big ones. So no seed oils, chef cooked is great, fresh, not frozen, ready to eat meals, ready that are made with high quality premium proteins. Things like grass-fed bison, wild-caught salmon, fresh veggies. Delicious menus that fit your lifestyle and meal preferences, including gluten-free if you want that, dairy-free, keto if you're vegan, getting plant-based, really natural, full plates of plant-based food, GLP-1, and low-carb meals as well. Eating well does not need to be complicated, y'all. With fully prepared, deliciously healthy meals, which you don't have to prep a whole lot or clean up a whole lot. Just eat clean, get great flavor, and ready in under 3 minutes, which is great. Delivered right to your door within 24 to 48 hours. Now, we are new to the Forkful experience, but I can tell you my main goal in life, are health and convenience. I'm not a food prepper, okay? I do not want to spend a whole lot of time in the kitchen, but I want to have things that are easy to make, but are also incredibly full and not full of preservatives and not full of additives and all sorts of stuff like that. We do not want that. So we're going to keep you guys up to date on the kinds of foods that we're eating in our meal kit. I ordered the vegetarian because I try to be veggie wedgie, and ordered the medical for Mr. Jason. So because we're on different food paths. So that's what it is. And since I don't have time to cook, this is what I'm doing. This is my new journey. So if you want to explore the plans and menu of fresh, ready to eat meals, just go to forkfulmeals.com. That's FORKFUL meals.com, and use the code JOY to get 50% off your first order. That's forkfulmeals.com. Use the code JOY to get 50% off your first order. The promo code again is JOY for 50% off. Thank you, Forkful, for sponsoring this episode. So as I just mentioned, the funeral for Nolan Wells was held today. Big ups to everyone who watched the stream on our channel. It was streamed on multiple channels, including Don, including Roland, and lots of us were streaming it. And, there was a lot that happened during the funeral. Of course, it was difficult and sad. We're going to play another clip of it later so you can hear Nolan's mom speak. But I wanted to play you this clip from Reverend Al Sharpton because he actually made some news on today. So here's Reverend Al Sharpton.
I'm not only saying we don't want nothing. I want to say right here now, and I'm inspired by who accused us of that I want to put up from National Action Network and me. I want to offer a reward of $50,000 to anybody I want to put a reward up for $50,000 for anybody that could give the information that will lead to an arrest and a conviction in the case of what happened. He was not on that island by himself. Somebody saw something and knows something. So I didn't come to make money. I came to give money. Stand up and tell the truth. I just got a text, Christine and Elmer, you know that Tyler Perry said he would pay for the funeral. He must be watching because he said, I'm going to match you and put up $50,000 more. So we putting up $100,000 for anybody that'll come forward. We just want the truth, that's all.
And there you go. And there have been people, particularly on the right, who have criticized the family for turning to Reverend Al Sharpton and National Action Network and to Ben Crump and saying, oh, here we go again, race baiting, racializing the case, yada, yada, yada. And it's ironic that the right would say that they would try to allege some sort of corrupt intent, when what you've seen is that when Black families are in distress, who are you going to call? Like, it's not like they are spending their lives doing what we do here, deep in the news cycle, you know, sort of at the sort of front of events. They're in a crisis. And unfortunately, when law enforcement fails you, the only way to force law enforcement to take action is to get attention. You have to get national level attention in order for these cases not to be swept under the rug. Note that the Jackson County Sheriff's Department immediately ruled this case an accidental drowning and moved on. I was saying this on Don's show earlier. And so had they not gone to National Action Network and to Ben Crump, this case would still have been shuttled under the carpet as an accidental drowning, and everyone would have moved on, and this family wouldn't have any chance of getting answers. That's why people go to Rev and to Ben Crump. They want national attention because, unfortunately, for Black families, if you don't do that, your case gets ignored. The FBI has now come forward and issued a very nice statement saying that they're here to work closely with the Jackson Sheriff's Department and that they're here to try to get answers for the family of the community. They're saying that now, but Kash Patel's FBI wouldn't have said anything because all they had said before all the national attention that came from my show, from Don's show, from Roland, and from black journalists in mainstream media, you know, particularly the ABC morning show, that's kind of all the attention there was. This wasn't turned into a cause celeb in mainstream media. It was independent media that led the push to make noise on this because a lot of us know Ben Crump, and he reached out. He used his network to make sure this family got justice. That's what you have to do. And unfortunately, that is America right now, because when Black families lose someone, it gets swept under the rug as no big deal. You find someone hung, it's a suicide. You find somebody rolled up in a carpet, in a gym mat, it's suicide. Somehow he rolled himself in there. It's brushed aside. And so Black families, unfortunately, have no choice but to go big in order to try to get justice, get celebrities involved, get Tyler Perry to give money, get Colin Kaepernick involved. We have to go all of these extra miles to get basic justice because the system is corrupt. We're calling this show tonight the CorruptoCON. And while that is happening, on the other side, on the MAGA side, the corruption, the real, genuine corruption. And by the way, in hour two, we're going to talk more about the Nolan Wells case and also some other issues regarding, you know, where our money is going, because it ain't going here. On the other side, you have genuine corruption. Genuine corruption. You want to talk about corruption? Corruption is not Reverend Al trying to help a family get justice or getting celebrities to give some money, put it in their fund me so they can afford to and do a press campaign to try to fund independent investors. You know how expensive that is to get an office stuff, try to fund it. That's not corruption. You know what corruption is? Representative Ayanna Pressley. So last week, Russ, the man who was the 2025, self-described Christian, turned the United States into a Christian nationalist country. That at the Office of Management and Budget, meaning he controls, it's like the HR and budget department for the United States. So he can implement Project 2025 directly by spending your Capitol Hill, because what he wasn't able to do was rid of balances, because Democrats still exist and some Democrats seriously the idea of aggressive oversight. So sit there and take tough questions, in some cases from a couple of Republicans. We played one of those clips last week of the North Carolina senator, but in most cases from Democrats of color who did not play with him. We heard Rashida Tlaib say, Russell, remember that? Let's now hear Ayanna Pressley.
I apologize before we do that.
Sure.
I just want to let you know we are freezing up on YouTube still, but it's freezing and stopping. It looks good on our side, so I don't know exactly what's going on, but we'll continue. Okay.
Okay, we will continue.
Not one good reason. You claim, you avow that you are a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, so I'm sure you spent some time in Sunday school.
That's a pejorative.
I'm sorry, did you happen upon a scripture that said, thou shalt make their neighbor poorer, hungrier, sicker, and less safe? That's actually what you've done. I didn't ask you to speak. This makes no sense. You are as incompetent as you are cruel and callous. Seriously, there are millions of families who have had to deal with an unexpected medical crisis, including yours, I'm sure, because cancer and illness do not discriminate. They don't care how fat your wallet is or what your zip code is. Everyone has been faced with some unexpected crisis that interrupted their life and destabilized their financial future, carrying the burden of caregiving, carrying the burden of sleepless nights, carrying the burden of debt unpaid, medical bills. But what upsets me most, please look at me, what upsets me most is the shame that people carry about that debt. So let me be clear to families throughout the country. The only people who should be ashamed of medical debt is the Republican Party, because they have obstructed progress for affordable health care at every turn. And then they rescinded the rule that would have given you some relief.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not. This is my time.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not yield. This is my time. And he's on his way out the door, and he needs to know exactly the harm he has caused. But the American people deserve to know.
Obamacare.
I will not yield.
It's Ms. Presley's time.
Why are you speaking to me when I didn't yield to you? Direct your vote. You have gutted the CFPB. You have dropped settlements the CFPB brought against predatory companies that were supposed to provide relief to customers. $360 million to help people gone. Americans are in dire need of financial relief, but Trump and his co-conspirators, his cult of co-conspirators, are making life worse for everyday people. And I mean everyone, women, the disabled, young people, seniors, veterans, immigrants, and especially people of color who are most burdened by debt and predatory collection and reporting practices. That is exactly why I introduced legislation to stop you from hurting people, like getting rid of consumer protections related to medical debt. The American public deserves better. They deserve better than you.
Boom.
She dragged him.
Dragged him for filth. Now, that was just one of the people who took Russell Vogt to the woodshed. Let's now go over to the Federal Reserve, which is supposed to watch our money. The current Fed chair is named Kevin Warsh. This is Trump's guy that replaced the previous Fed chair who refused to lower interest rates at Trump's command. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's another real one, decided she needed to know some information about where he gets his money.
The last 5 years, at least 6 senior Fed officials have been implicated in serious ethics scandals related to personal stock trading and self-dealing. But instead of trying to repair this broken culture, I'm concerned that you seem to be embracing it. At the time of your nomination, you owned more than $100 million worth of shares in private investment vehicles called the Juggernaut Funds and THSDFS LLC. And you refused to disclose the underlying assets to the Senate and to the public. You say now that you've sold those shares. In other words, somebody wrote you a check for more than $100 million days before you entered office. Chair Walsh, who wrote that check?
Senator Warren, this is a discussion you and I had in the public square 7 weeks ago, and I'm thrilled to tell you that I have fully honored the obligations I had under the office of the agreement I had with the Office of Government Ethics.
Yeah, I'm
there is
glad you
continued
did,
disclosure, which I'm happy to make as consistent with the agreement.
I asked you a very specific question. Who gave you $100 million right before you were sworn in? Was it a billionaire who has business with the Fed? Was it Stanley Druckenmiller, who's made billions of dollars betting on what the Fed does? Or was it a different billionaire? Who gave you the money?
I will fully comply with the Office of Government Ethics.
That's not an answer.
Well, it is an answer, actually, Senator, because there
it's
are
not.
obligations,
It's
and I will satisfy them
$100 million
completely.
that you got just before you were sworn in, and you won't tell the American people where it came from.
Joining me now is someone who is looking to add to that oversight responsibility by running for Congress, and hopefully we'll be able to add a few more bats on that woodshed. Joining me now is State Representative Donavan McKinney, Democratic candidate running in Michigan's fabulous 13th district. State Representative McKinney, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joy, for the opportunity. A longtime fan. I'm like fanboying over here because me and my wife, we watch you constantly. Yeah, constantly.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, our theme tonight is the corruption that you would be dealing with, trying to have some oversight over when it comes to this administration. $100 million that the Fed chair cannot explain how he got it, who gave it to him. So people seem to be making money hand over fist in Washington when they're supposed to be working for the people.
Exactly. And Joy, to your point, like, people are fed up with the status quo, right? Electing our politicians just to be greedy and dirtbags and not necessarily doing the work in the service of the people that sent them there in the first place. And so, you know, our elections are being bought left and right, and the people's voices are being drowned out. That's why, you know, we're running on a national platform to get all corporate dirty money out of our politics. But more importantly, we have to end Citizens United. And we can do that, Joy, through congressional action.
Indeed. And I mean, when people ask, well, what, you know, Citizens United seems like a vague term to people. It means just the money that pours into politics. Exactly. It's the money that buys politicians. Have you pledged to not take PAC money?
Yes. Yep. We have not. We're running a grassroots campaign, Joy. We haven't taken any corporate PAC money, APAC, crypto, you name it. We raised over $1 million+ just from a lot of individuals. Our average donation is $30. And so, you know, we are following what we're preaching. But it's hard because all that corporate money comes in last minute and drowns out the voices of the people.
I found out today that apparently, and I'm going to do my due diligence to make sure I can confirm this, that the two biggest donors to the Democratic Party are APAC and crypto. So if you're not taking those two, you're doing it the hard way, but the honest way. Let me play you one more clip from Senator Warren, because this is going to hit close to home for a brother from Michigan. And this is what's going on with some of these automobile companies and whether they're doing the right thing by the people. Jason, this is A4.
23 Toyota agreed to pay $50 million to settle a claim that thousands of consumers were tricked into buying add-on insurance and warranties that they didn't need and they didn't want. Secret emails show that a Toyota lobbyist reached out to you, quote, to see if there's a positive path forward on their already agreed on settlement, to ask you for help after they had already agreed to repay the consumers they had cheated. Now, 2 weeks after Toyota's lobbyist reached out to you, he followed up with your second in command and said he had also flagged the issue for the White House. Oh, and Toyota did one other thing before they reached out to you. They donated $1 million to the president's inauguration. And just like that, you reversed their already agreed upon settlement. So, Acting Director Vogt, that affected thousands of people. How much on average did Toyota's customers get scammed out of?
Well, I think the way you've just characterized that is inaccurate. And I never talked with that lobbyist.
Mr. Vogt.
And let me just explain that you specifically, when you wrote the law, did not give the CFPB authority over car dealerships. This was a novel theory that did not have a basis in statute, and we
Mr. Vogt, Toyota had already agreed that they had cheated people out of money and agreed to pay the money back. And I'm asking you, when you took the action to say to Toyota, you keep the money and let all those people who got cheated just go suck air, when that happened, how much was each of those people, how much had they been cheated out of?
Senator,
I assume you had looked at the file
Senator,
and knew what it was that you were letting Toyota keep the money for.
Senator, one of the hallmarks of our stewardship of the agency is we're not going to use the sue and settle consent orders.
Oh, listen, I understand that.
To go after
I'm asking,
companies.
If the ordinary person can't count on the federal government to help them when they get cheated by a company, it's hard to imagine explaining to people why you're paying taxes.
Exactly. Or why they should participate in their government.
What could you do as a member of Congress, in your view, to rein in somebody like Russell Vought, who is the Project 2025 author and now the Office of Management and Budget Director?
We have to subpoena them, and I know that's what the Senate is doing right there. But more importantly, what we can do is get them in there, talk to them, and say, hey, you know what? We have the power to purse strings. Congress, right? The reason why, and Joy, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent right here.
Please.
But the reason why people in our districts that I talk to every single day, they feel like Trump has all this power, absolute power. And I'm telling them, well, he has a lot of power because he's actually using his power. The three branches of government is not necessarily working as it should intend to do. And so, you got the Supreme Court who literally just gave this president, pretty much full-fledged power, immunity to do whatever God knows what he wants to do, creating all this chaos and confusion and harm on the American people. Then we have a do-nothing Congress right now, and a Republican trifecta who is afraid to really step up to the orange man. And so we have a conundrum right here, and people are looking at like, does my government even care about me? And that's why we're pushing back. That's why we're fighting like hell to make sure we win this election in less than 15 days, so we can get in there, make some noise, but more importantly, fight like hell for the American people.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the top that, you're not taking money from PACs, including the crypto folks who put a lot of money. They're the new big donor in the Democratic Party side, on both sides, actually give to Republicans too, and I think more. But this is a world in which the president of the United States sells meme coins, sells his own crypto, gets investments from foreign countries into his crypto, meaning essentially a straight up bribe. And then the people that, are purchasing it have lost billions of dollars, $3.8 billion so far, that his supporters, by buying his crypto, have lost, while he has made something like $2 billion. So, I mean, when you talk to folks you want them to vote, how do you explain to them how they can ever win in a society where the president of the United States, you want to wear the scamming ass at in the White House?
That's true. No, this is what we got to do. We have to educate people and to understand their own power. I believe organized people beat organized money every single time. And so we have to get back to, the Dr. King, the civil rights days of understanding our real voice. But you have to, in order to utilize your voice, you have to utilize your vote. To some people, they don't necessarily think voting truly matters. And I tell them it's a tool in the toolbox we all must utilize. It's not going to change everything overnight. But why are they spending all of this money? Crypto, APAC, different corporations from our monopoly utility companies across the board to silence your voice. It's because they don't necessarily want you to utilize your power by voting. And so that's why what just happened with the VRA decision in the Supreme Court just a few weeks ago. And then Trump is saying, hey, he canceled that housing legislation he was going to sign to say, hey, send me the SAVE Act, Republican government. And then, with the Supreme Court upheld the birthright citizenship, which I was totally shocked at. Well, that's what Trump just did the next day. He told his Republican Congress, send me the legislation to overturn birthright citizenship. And so all of this is happening in totality. It's not happening in isolation. We have to utilize our voice by utilizing our vote. And that's what I tell people every single time.
Do you hear a lot of people, we're talking, we haven't talked today about the state of this war, that nobody seems to understand why we're there. We've now had more and more servicemen die. They're getting bombed in their barracks in the Gulf. Why do you suppose Congress has been so tepid about trying to put a stop to it?
Well, I mean, they can't really speak up. When your hands are tied behind your backs, when you have special interests and corporate folks pulling puppet strings to tell you what to do, rather than to do what's right on behalf of the American people, then you're more than likely going to side with the corporations and the people that are funding your campaigns, because you're afraid. Like most folks care about in this political field is the reelection. And so a lot of folks won't have the courage to step up and do what's right. And so to me, courage doesn't necessarily mean the absence of being afraid, Joy. Courage to me means even when you are afraid, you still step up and do the right thing on behalf of the people you represent that sent you there and voted for you in the first place. And so that's what's missing more than anything. It's the courage. And we need to elect more people with courage in these powerful positions of influence to sit at the table and fight like hell against this fascist, racist regime we're all living under.
Well said. I want to play a clip. This is a clip of you. I'm going to show you. This is B1 when you get a chance. And then I have a question on the other side.
Yeah.
First of all, I saw you in there. You was even getting it in sitting here. You just like you hear the music and you just got to dance. But you are the person that we've been told is bringing the hype to not just your own campaign, but to the Abdul El-Sayed campaign. That was actually a rally for him. That was Rashida Tlaib. You gave a hug to. But there's the hype. There's you, and then there's the pan. That's Detroit. It's one of the blackest cities in America. I believe it's 80% African American. When I saw that pan, I didn't see a lot of us. I didn't see a lot of people who might know that song by heart like you do. And so this is a conversation that a lot of us have been having behind the scenes, is that there's this disconnect between what Abdul El-Sayed is saying and what he's offering, which is free healthcare instead of spending money, throwing money over there to Israel for them to bomb brown people, which I think most black people, if you look at the polling, agree with. They do not want to send our money over there. They want to keep our money in Detroit. They want to see people in the United States get the great healthcare and free education that Israel is getting. And so that argument is powerful, but it doesn't seem to be connecting with African Americans. Why do you suppose that is?
Well, you know, I'm knocking on doors every single day in my district, and the district I'm running for, Michigan's mighty 13th, it is right now, because of the VRA rollback that we talked about earlier, it is the only majority black congressional district in the country right now not represented by a black person. And so I interact with black people every single day of my life. I'm black. My wife's black. I got 3 beautiful black children, ages 4 and younger. And when I talk to the elders and when I talk to the young people, no matter the age, they are just tired of like just the status quo. They're tired of elected officials reading off a teleprompter or reading off of talking points to give us bites we want to hear, but don't necessarily follow through. So it's the trust. That is the crux of all of this. Like, people don't necessarily trust their elected officials, and we're trying to mend that and we're trying to heal that, but we have to deliver. And I'll say this, Joy, also, the Democratic Party is supposedly supposed to be the party of the people. And so we're going to continue to claim to be that. Then we have to act like it. We have to deliver on the resources on behalf of working people, because I'm running to represent the 5th poorest congressional district in the country. Like, these folks, I'm going to be honest with you, like, they are just tired. They're not even scraping by at this point, let alone surviving. I got folks who are working 2-3 jobs, not even making ends meet. I have seniors on fixed income. All they get is $900 a month from Social Security. Their rent is $800. Then their food assistance just got cut because of HR 1, the one big shitty bill that the Republicans and Trump passed, by less than $30 a month. What are you supposed to do with $30 a month for groceries? When we're starting nonsensical wars out of nowhere, and the cost of living just going up. And so people are just fed up with the entire system. And so when you talk about it, Joy, like what's the disconnect? That's the disconnect. They believe on the issues. They believe we're right on the issues. They just don't necessarily believe government can actually deliver for them.
And the thing about it is, and this is the thing that kind of is a conundrum for me, is that government can really deliver on war. They can really deliver on money for bombs. They deliver, including CBC members. They deliver all the money that Israel, Egypt, all of these countries, UAE gets a lot, those guys get a lot of money. And I believe in foreign aid, foreign aid to help poor people. But that's not what they're delivering. USAID is dead. They're delivering money to bomb brown people. But to make that connection, this is what somebody in the know told me. In order to make that connection that you're suffering because your government is spending money on stupid wars and on bombs to kill brown people instead of on you, it's the messenger that matters. Yeah. And so I'm wondering if maybe what the challenge is for Abdul El-Sayed and for other people who are on the progressive left who are not Black is the problem that they're not connecting enough Black people to be the messengers for that.
Yeah, and that's why we're stepping up. That's why we decided to run in this seat and really build that and bridge that gap. And so that is one of my biggest jobs in Michigan in particular, when, we're a purple state. It can go either way. And so we have to turn out the vote. And, the reason why the 2024 presidential election didn't go the way all of us hoped for or planned for the most part is because the couch won. People sat at home. People thought, you could blame the uncommitted movement. You could blame a lot of things, right? But in reality, what happened and the crux of it all is that people decided to stay home instead of participating and cast their ballot. And that is on all of us, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, all of us. And so we have to step up and actually deliver for working people. And that's why we decided to run, because I have an opponent. His name is Sharif Tanadar. He's the current congressman. And all he sent more money to Tel Aviv and Israel than he has to the Michigan Mighty 13th District. And as a sitting state rep, I was able to bring home hundreds of millions of dollars, more money than he's ever brought home to this district. So, just imagine what we can do at Congress. Look what we've already done in the State House.
Yeah, indeed. Before I let you go, would you like to see President Obama weigh in on the fact that Haley Stevens is running, or at least her allies, UDP, United Democracy Project, which is AIPAC, running ads claiming she's the Obama candidate? Because for a lot of people who don't have the time, like you said, that are struggling, they're just saying, I'll just vote for the Obama candidate. And he has not endorsed. Should he say something?
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I think Sean Fain addressed it. We were at the big rally earlier this weekend with Abdul, Rashida, AOC, Bernie, all of us together. And, they used the UAW will too, and the UAW endorsed Abdul. Listen, it's more so I would like Obama to say, hey, I haven't endorsed. I thought he said it, but I'm not totally clear. But in reality, we got to stop misleading people.
Yes.
And it's not just what Obama's doing. It's with these corporations pouring all of this money to do all of these ads to confuse people and make them turn off of the entire process, because it's just so dirty, negative. There's so much hate, and people are tired of waking up to that. And so we have to spread love, and that's what this campaign is all about. And I'm just tired of folks having to see that every single day. And our children are seeing this mess too. And they're asking, what are we doing with our politics, and what type of things we're going to leave them? And so in reality, we have to all step up. It's on all of us to ensure that we run a politics that all of us can look up to.
Donavan McKinney, one of the most fun candidates, definitely, that's running, and also the most faithful to the really sort of old ideals of liberalism and progressivism. I like your message, brother. So I'm wishing you luck. Give your website one more time.
Yes, DonovanForCongress.com. And also, everybody can follow me on all social media handles at Donavan McKinney.
A professional politician who knows his website and makes sure that he also gets you to follow him on socials. We appreciate you. Best of luck to you, Donavan McKinney. We'll be watching.
Thank you, Joy. Appreciate you so much for the time and opportunity.
Of course. Thank you. Say hi to your wife. I love it. I love a family to watch us together.
Yes.
I appreciate you. All right, good brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. He seems like a good dude. He seems like a good guy. Let's note to you that politics really can make you stressed out. Right, Jason? And so we've got an answer for that.
Right.
It's true. Well, the Joy Reid Show is brought to you by something that'll relieve your stress. Willie's Remedy. Yeah. So you're tired of waking up hungover, worrying about what happened last night. Well, now you can have fun and relax without any of the regrets with Willie's THC infused social tonic. For anyone who's trying to be more intentional this year, Willie's gives you that social uplifting buzz without breaking your goals. What kind of moment is perfect for Willie's? Well, what about unwinding after a long day, socializing without alcohol, getting creative? And Willie's, what it does is that's different from other cannabis products or alcohol. So it's an alcohol alternative that gives you the uplifting euphoric buzz that you want from a non-alcohol euphoric drink, but without any of the negative side effects. Because a lot of non-alcoholic alternative products, they promise a great feeling, but they just don't deliver the buzz. But with Willie's, you'll actually feel relaxed and euphoric in about 15-ish minutes, and you'll feel great the next day as well. So if you're just looking to take the edge off without drinking alcohol, you want to Netflix and chill and properly chill, replace alcohol maybe once or twice on the weekdays, maybe on the weekend, wind down, etc. Willie's is a great option for you. And it's inspired by our friend, Willie Nelson. You know, I love to keep my bottle here next to me. For all the girls I've loved before. I love Willie Nelson. I think he's so cool. You're going to be cool like Willie Nelson. You can drink something that's like his stuff. It's low calorie, low sugar, and it's great. So Willie's social tonics come in 5 milligram and 10 milligram doses. You can choose sort of which is your dosing preference, and you can enjoy the tonics as a shot. You can sip them over ice. Or you can even mix them into your favorite mocktail. And it's a great blend of THC, CBD, CBG, and L-theanine that gives you that calm clarity, that calm feeling, the feeling of calm and clarity and euphoria and relaxation kind of all at the same time. And even better, Willie's ships right to your doorstep in 40 plus states. It's sold out 3 times in just the first 6 months with over 300,000 happy customers. So order now at drinkwillies.com. Use the code JOY, which kind of makes sense, for 20% off your first order. Free shipping on orders over $95, and live like a legend for all the girls I've loved before.
I love that drink, but there's only one issue I have.
What's that?
You got 5 millimeter and 10 millimeter. They need to bump that up to like 40.
You make it 40.
They need to bump that up to
you
like
want to get
40.
it. You want to get it really in. All right. Well. Very, very fair. Let's talk about on the other side. We talked about hell. Willie's is for like good euphoric feeling, make your body feel good. Not all things are that. Right now, people who have been going to Taco Bell have been freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, this food's going to make me sick." Because you have people all over the country who are actually getting sick. You want to talk about corruption? We don't have an FDA, fam. Something called cyclospora, an outbreak that has made hundreds or thousands of people sick with like projectile diarrhea. And at first, the FDA released information saying that it was due to Taco Bell. I don't know if we have C1, Jason. They were saying it was due to Taco Bell lettuce, but now it's over 1,000 cases. But now the FDA is taking it back and saying that was due to wrong information. And now the FDA is saying the explosive diarrhea, cyclospora is not due to Taco Bell. Joining us now to make sense of all this is our friend, Dr. Frita Fisher, quadruple board certified physician, nephrologist, and host of Dr. Frita Live. And we call on her whenever we have like a sick thing we got to talk about. So maybe I'll just call on you one time just to say hi. Cyclospora, what is it? How dangerous is it? Can it kill you?
All right. So cyclospora is a parasite, Joy, and it originates in human feces, gross, and it contaminates produce. And so typically when we have cyclospora infections, and we have them every year, the cyclospora season is between May and August. And prior to the current administration, prior to July 2025, we actually had surveillance from the Food Net, which is a combination of the CDC, USDA, FDA, and cyclospora was one of the pathogens under surveillance. So that's probably why most people didn't really hear of it. Well, after Doge and all the cuts, we no longer have a surveillance of cyclospora. And so now we're seeing outbreaks that are higher than we've seen in years, possibly ever, because we have at least 7,000 suspected and confirmed cases. So the good news is it doesn't kill you. It typically does not kill you, but it might make you wish that you weren't around because it causes explosive diarrhea. Some people have reported up to 40 times a day of just watery diarrhea. It can last for days, weeks, or months. And get this, it can go away. And then even if you're not reinfected, it can come back to terrorize you with just diarrhea. And yeah.
Is this one of those things that comes from people making food without washing their hands after going to the bathroom?
Well, interestingly, it It is from fecal oral transmission. So yes, one of the ways that it could originate if someone has touched a feces product that had cyclospora, and then they make your food and they serve it up to you nice and cold, just like, you know, your cool lettuce, raspberry, cilantro, basil. But it actually does not get transmitted from human to human. It takes some time for you to ingest it, pass it into the sewage before it is in a form where it can actually be transmitted again. And so it's not the type of thing that you'll get immediately from your neighbor who didn't wash his hands before he made you a taco. It's something that will happen after the cyclospora parasite has had time to mature and sit on the various, you know, salad greens before they go into your prepackaged salad kit.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is what's so frightening about living in this era of gross incompetence and dumb MAGA government is that there are all these downstream effects, right? You know, you have RFK Jr. in there saying, yeah, we shouldn't vaccinate our children. You know, it's like no vaccines. And then all of a sudden you get a measles outbreak here, you get a measles outbreak there. All of a sudden you get kids sick here, you get kids sick there. Now you have the Florida Surgeon General saying, we're not going to vaccinate for anything. Measles, mumps, rubella, nothing. We're going to let it just, you know, let the freak flags of germs fly in our schools at our kids. And all the downstream effects are that you have less supervision, with, as you said, Doge getting rid of all the scientists moving to Canada and Europe, and now we don't have enough people watching. And the downstream effect is we're going to have more sickness. We're going to have more people getting sick, fewer people watching what we're eating. You know, and then the downstream effect of that is people don't want to go to a restaurant. People don't want to eat out. That hurts the economy. Suddenly, tourists don't want to come here because they don't want to eat here. They're scared.
That's right. Because even with the recall, and it is a voluntary recall by Taylor Farms, it's only with shredded iceberg lettuce from a particular place. And according to Taylor Farms, the location in central Mexico only supplies about 1% of their iceberg lettuce. But if you tell people enough time that washing lettuce alone, washing your fruits and vegetables alone won't get rid of the cyclospora, because it won't. You can wash them, scrub them all day long. It won't get rid of cyclospora. That makes
even hot water?
Hot water will only do it if it's up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit. So not the type of hot water that you can run under the sink and that your hands can tolerate. You need to boil it, bake it, or else a cyclospora. You might reduce the amount if you wash it with running water and a scrub brush, but you're not getting rid of it unless you boil it. And so unless you like boiling your Caesar salad kits, you're not getting rid of it, Joy. It has to be heated up to get rid of the cyclospora.
What's the gestation period? So how long after you have a Caesar salad might this thing get you?
Right. And mind you, no one said that Caesar salad or romaine lettuce specifically was a source, but after you ingest a contaminated food or beverage, anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks. That's how long it takes before you get symptoms, which you can imagine that has made it pretty tricky to trace it, because who remembers what they ate 7 days ago, 10 days ago? You might think whatever you just ate made you sick, when really it's what you ate 2 weeks ago. But yeah, 2 to 14 days is the incubation period.
What did our federal system of protecting our food look like pre-Trump 2.0?
Pre-Trump 2.0, specifically before July 2025, we had the food net, and we had at least 8 different pathogens under surveillance, and we had mandatory reporting. And so when the different states would screen and check for things like cyclospora, they would have to report it to the CDC, and that's how we were able to stay ahead of the game. Well, now we don't have the mandatory reporting, which is why you might notice that what the CDC reports as its numbers, those differ quite widely from what the states report. Case in point, as of now, the CDC reports 1,644 cases of cyclospora, 141 hospitalizations. Well, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services reports 6,148 cases, right? But there is a delay. The CDC has been, a lot of the staff has been fired. They don't have the same capability. And so what we are doing as physicians and scientists who are trying to keep the public notified, we're looking at the states. And of course, we're all going and having to kind of calculate from state to state, which when you have something centralized, like you're supposed to with CDC, USDA, FDA, we don't have to worry about inaccurate information. But now, by them removing this public health situation, it's made things horrible. Public health is silent when it's doing a good job. When you don't hear about screwworms, which actually screwworms was one of the pathogens that used to be under surveillance. Now it's not. And now we had our first case of screwworms since the 1960s. When you think that things are fine because they're silent, they're silent because public health is doing a good job. Now that they did cuts from the departments that they thought were unnecessary, now we're starting to hear measles, screwworms, cyclospora, and who knows what's next.
You know, what's so interesting is that Project 2025, part of what it's designed to do is to put us back to the 19th century, right? And a lot of these white Christian nationalists believe that America was better in the 19th century because you didn't have regulation. Essentially, you had no government regulation. So if you bought milk and it was full of pathogens that could kill you, their idea, which is a very libertarian idea, is don't worry, the market will take care of it because you won't buy that brand of milk anymore because it can kill you. They've gone back to the idea of that, and then they've added to it, but companies can also just bribe Donald Trump or bribe public officials and then not be regulated at all. So so it's two ways. They're both removing regulation, removing the personnel that could do it, but also having this system where you can actually bribe your way into. It would be like in a state where they give the restaurant an A, B, C, D or whatever to eat there. You could just buy the A, and then no one knows if they're eating poison food. This sounds like this is a terrifying way to live.
It is a terrifying way to live. And in the fear of corruption, because we've seen corruption right before our very eyes, is very upsetting, because once you start researching some of these companies and realizing whom they have backed financially as far as different governors, and it becomes more of a likely or very possible reality that there can be corruption in the system. And we don't know that, right? They're not going to print that or tell us that in fact. And so we as physicians, scientists, consumers are just scrambling, doing our best. And our best right now, as far as cyclospora, is to tell people to avoid the iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms, from the specific states, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, to the listed states. That's the best we can do. But quite likely, if there are 7,000 people with suspected or confirmed cases, there's probably more cyclospora.
So Michigan, Ohio, what other states?
West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana. Those are the states that have been identified as they have the Taco Bells, that have the iceberg lettuce from Taylor.
All but one are red state. And there you go. States that don't regulate, states that don't tax businesses, states that let corporations do whatever they want. It's almost as if regulation actually keeps people alive.
Imagine that. And quite honestly, now at least 34 states have reported some cases or suspected cases of cyclospora. And because cyclospora is not one of the parasites that will typically take you out, it won't typically kill you, you can imagine a lot of people are getting well at home and not reporting it. It's just one of those things that's unnecessary, just like measles, just like screwworms, just like pertussis, whooping cough, just like all of these illnesses that were controlled or even eradicated back when we actually were believing in germ theory and back when we were respecting public health and regulations. We went through with DOGE and with the current administration, did all of these cuts, and we cut scientists. And instead of scientists, we replaced them with people like Pete Hegseth, who is giving misinformation about testosterone, which is a whole nother.
Hold on. We have a couple more minutes before we get to the top of the hour. Yeah, let's go into that, because I should have, I'm going to put it, it's on my social media. The idea that Pete Hegseth is now going to be handing out testosterone because I guess he feels like the current slate of Christian only, male only recruits to the United States military are all girly men. What will be the impact of just handing out testosterone?
Let me tell you, Joy, I speak with evidence-based medicine.
Please.
Testosterone replacement therapy has the definite side effect, of decreasing sperm production and causing infertility, at least temporarily. So Dr. Oz already says we're unbabied. If you give the testosterone replacement to men in their 30s and 20s and even 40s who are still actively planning to have babies, they might not know it can make them infertile. You don't hear about that much because most of the men who have decreased testosterone, who actually qualify for the replacement, many of them are in their 50s and 60s, and a good number are finished having babies, so you don't hear about it. The other real side effect is that testosterone replacement therapy can have the side effect of causing small testicles and gynecomastia, which is male breasts, okay? And I'm just pretty sure that the high T Department of War doesn't realize it. Here's the fact. According to the American Urological Association and the Endocrine Society, it is not recommended that all men be screened for testosterone deficiency, not in their 30s, not in their 40s. You don't screen all men. You only screen men who have symptoms. And it's because there are so many possible risk factors and side effects, such as blood clots, such as the men having breasts, such as worsening sleep apnea, such as if it's given at too high a dose, it can cause emotional instability. There are many negative side effects, which is why it is a very specific science on who gets screened. You don't screen everyone. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that our low T Secretary of War is going to create an army full of men with breastises, micro penises, and tiny testicles, big boobs, big breastises.
Yep.
But they don't believe in gender affirming care, because that sounds to me like gender affirming care.
Well,
but the upside is, I think MAGA does love breastises. They like seeing boobs, and so maybe they'll just enjoy seeing them on the menfolk in the military. And then the good thing is, though, I'm going to give you the upside. I like to give the upside.
Thank you.
You just said they won't be able to reproduce, so it'll be a one generation problem.
Yeah, the problem is, though, we have many innocent young men in their 20s of all races, colors, creeds, so many innocent young guys. And if they get the, peer pressure to go get their testosterone check, you can imagine if it's not done properly, you have young men in their 20s taking these medications, not understanding. And to be fair, yes, testosterone replacement therapy has its place when indicated, but it is absolutely not indicated to screen all men in their 30s. And so I certainly hope that they are watching, that they are listening to this show, and they go back and rethink, pull Pete Hegseth off of the lectern because he made a mess. He's not in alignment with the sciences, just like he wasn't for the flu vaccine mandate being taken away. Someone needs to take his mic, take RFK Jr.'s mic, and just, I don't know, they need some help.
They need to remove him. He is the most unqualified, idiotic, embarrassing Secretary of Defense, and it is still called the Department of Defense, we've ever had in our entire lives. They are letting essentially a preteen boy play with our military, and we've got men dying in Iran, in our Gulf, in the Gulf states, because we're fighting a war with Iran that is completely made up out of whole cloth. And now he's trying to mangle the bodies, or may end up mangling the bodies of young men in the military. The lawsuits will be legion. It'll be a bounty for lawyers once all of these, big-breasted, tiny testicle, infertile men start suing. And by the way, you said men of all races. He's made it very clear he doesn't want men of all races. He's directing this horror at young white men. Young white Christian men. That is who he wants in the military. That is who he is hyper recruiting. That's who he wants in there. So if you are a white mom or dad, you need to really seriously think about whether you will allow your sons to, because they don't want your daughters, really think about whether you want to let your sons join this military. Dr. Frita Fisher, I'll put all of that negative talk on me. I'm the one who's mean. You're nice. Please follow Dr. Frita. Everybody follows you. Follow Dr. Frita on her YouTube channel. Thank you, Dr. Frita. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Tiny testicles in your pants. That's what he's going to create, and it's going to be his fault. And if if these men all decide to sue, what are you going to do?
You can't get your balls back. They're small now.
You sure can't.
So you better think before you start taking those injections.
Don't do. First of all, look into.
Maybe Hegseth told them to do because he did it.
I guarantee he has low T. Exactly. It's clear that he's projecting. He probably has low testosterone, but obviously maybe his testosterone ain't low enough given his history, given the allegations against him. Maybe his testosterone needs to be lower because his history is actually that he's a sex pest. So now he wants to make everybody warped. He wants to warp their bodies. He wants to deform them. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show 2. I'm sorry. I say mean things. Okay, I can't help it.
But the thing is, Joy, I'm gonna leave it alone because we're not gonna be talking about small balls for the rest of the show, okay?
Tiny testicle in your pants. Also, why is Pete Hegseth so obsessed with the male form? He's so obsessed with the male body. Have you noticed that? He obsesses over the male body all the time. He's constantly trying to get people to do push-ups and sit-ups with me. And he wants to, no beardos. And he's just obsessing over the physical look of men's bodies.
The man has a makeup room in his office.
He does.
He has his hair slicked back all the time.
I think he wears more makeup than me.
That's what I'm saying. So the fact that he wants to, I don't know, but let's move.
I'm told that I have Lena the Fab says I have big Sagittarius energy. Truthful and blunt. Yeah, truthful, not neutral is one of our sayings. Absolutely. I big Sagittarius energy for real. Don Wormley, my former, the late great Don Wormley, who was my stage manager at Ms. Now. She was at MSNBC then. He used to call me Big Cheryl. Big Cheryl. I used to get mad about it, but he was like, hey, Big Cheryl. Big Sagittarius energy. Welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Hit the like and subscribe button. I mean, because why not? Don't you like it? Don't you like
if you have small balls, you better hit it too.
Hit the like and subscribe button if you got tiny balls. Tiny testes in your back. Tiny testes make your dad.
Are we not going to make some lyrics for this song now?
Tiny testes
oh my God.
in your pants. Tiny testes make your dad.
Welcome to hour 2, everybody.
Sorry. Am I missing something else here? Okay. So anyway, we're hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. No, we're going to get very serious now because we had a little fun. We always have to have a tiny bit of fun. Before well, maybe I'll just wait till the end of the show and talk about this with Chris. I got to talk about the boozy thing, the little boozy thing, but I'll leave that for Chris Witherspoon. Chris Witherspoon's going to be on later. We're going to talk about the amazing ViewerCon, which was fabulous. If you guys missed it, so I'll push that, Jason. Those elements will push for him. But welcome to hour 2 of the Joy Reid Show. Now, have you guys?
So where are we going to go then?
No, we're going to the World Cup because okay. I enjoyed the World Cup. I was watching the World Cup
on the D block,
on the
right?
Amtrak. Yep, we're in the D block. I enjoyed the World Cup after I could finally get Amtrak Wi-Fi to work, which took a minute. But once I got it to work, it was a great game. The European champion, which is Spain, beat the South American champion, which is Argentina. They were both the 2 top teams from those 2 regions. And, I was rooting for everybody African. But in the end, it actually was pretty amazing that, there were some very prominent African Black players, African origin players who were Spanish. They were from Spain because they also have, what do you call it? Citizenship, birthright citizenship. So there you go.
Tell Argentina that.
But Argentina, they don't have anybody Black in Argentina.
Like I said, don't tell
Blanquimiento. They claim there are no Blacks in Argentina, even though there are.
That's because they genocide them
away. Indeed. But what happened with the World Cup, which was really fascinating, given all the teams that were eliminated and all the African teams that were there and not there, and the way that things kind of flowed, the World Cup in the end, even though it was a European team and Argentina, which claims to be a European country, the World Cup actually wound up turning into a proxy for the Gaza-Israel conflict. So, Lamine Yamal, who is the big star of the Spanish team, 19 years old, he is now, in many ways, the most famous Muslim athlete since Muhammad Ali, right? Between honoring his grandparents on the Step and Repeat. Take a look at this. We can turn it down. Sorry about that. So yes, he honored his grandparents. Those are his fathers. That's his dad, who is from Morocco, and his mom, his grandma. That's the dad's mom. And by the way, the dad wasn't at the finals because his father actually passed away. The father's father passed away. That's why he was still in Spain. But he honored his grandparents, standing there with his Muslim paternal family members. His mother is from Equatorial Guinea. And that is an amazing thing, to waving the Palestinian flag as his team celebrated a victory all the way to the final. And for that, the Israelis actually called for him to be sanctioned. They wanted him to be sanctioned for waving the Palestinian flag. Meanwhile, the coach of the Spanish team dedicated their victories to Palestine. So this team, from a country that is one of the countries that now officially formally recognizes a Palestinian state and has been very aggressive about it and very definitive about it, and having a sort of moral high ground on this issue, has been a thing. It's kind of been one of the side stories that emerged in this World Cup. And world leaders were definitely taking sides. Israel's war criminal prime minister, Bibi Netanyahu, was openly rooting for pro-Israel Argentina. Here's a little clip. We won't play it all. Down. making a pro-genocide war criminal fun. Look at him bouncing the ball with his head. Look at him. He's doing a header. You're a war criminal and you should be arrested if you go to New York. Yeah, thanks, baby. But he was openly rooting for Argentina because Argentina's leaders are very, very, very pro-Israel. And so he was openly rooting. You see, he got the jersey and everything, and they were rooting for Argentina because Milei, who is their prime minister or their leader in Argentina, is very, very, very pro-Israel. And Donald Trump, while he didn't openly say he was rooting for Argentina, he, of course, jinxed them by even mentioning their name. Here it is, D4.
Spain.
Yeah.
Give me a prediction.
Well, I knew you were going to ask, so I thought about it I thought about it a lot. I knew that was a question. I hate to get involved, even though politically it doesn't matter so much. The head of Argentina is a friend of mine. He's done a terrific job. But I would say that it's hard to bet against Messi. I watched that pass. I guess you'd call it a pass. It was exactly perfect. Although,
okay, that's enough.
Talent
yeah, we get it. We got it. He basically says it's hard to bet against Messi. You know, it's not hard to bet against him if you're for him, Trump, because you're a jinx. You're cursed. Every team that you root for loses. So you jinx them with your nasty, Trumpy jinxiness. And then the other thing is that Donald Trump decided to make himself the center of attention. So he attends the game, which of course is in New Jersey, and he decides to go there himself, and he got roundly, lustily booed. And this is D5. J HUD. Her part was good. He was good. And then they show him. The sound of boos, of Donald Trump being booed. It brings me joy. It warms the cockles of my heart. Yeah, he got booed lustily. And that's just kind of how it went for him. And then, of course, his jinx kicked in, and Argentina lost with a beautiful, sweet goal right in the 100th minute or something by Spain. And after his jinx kicked in, he made an ass of himself on the winner's stand. Of course, D6, please. Okay, he wouldn't leave. So at Infantino, who you can see was sitting next to him when he got booed as well. Infantino and the coach, the Spanish coach, eventually ushered him off the stand so that the team could actually do their celebration. And here's the beautiful part. They photoshopped him out of their photo. They took a team photo and he would not leave. He was standing there while they were taking their team photo. He didn't leave, so they just photoshopped him out.
The great thing, Instagram, they photoshopped it out.
Yeah, they photoshopped him out everywhere.
The papers, good.
Everywhere. He's photoshopped out because he literally decided to make it about himself, right? He is Julio Iglesias, like for real. There was also an amazing Ugandan dance team that got to dance with Shakira during the halftime show, and that was their dream. They were a Ugandan dance team. You also had I Show Speed was literally sitting 2 down from the mayor. He was sitting right next to the mayor. Didn't at first realize he was sitting next to Mayor Mamdani. But Mamdani got to watch this Ugandan. He was originally born in Uganda, and he got to watch this little Ugandan dance troupe dance with Shakira. They got to live their dream. There was so much about this final that was actually beautiful from a global South perspective, even though obviously it was Spain, and Spain right now is kind of holding up the moral high ground. And by the way, I'm just hoping that they actually got their trophy, the Spanish team, because last year during the Club World Cup Championships at MetLife Stadium, they played at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. It is like a preview to the big series. Trump kept the trophy instead of letting Chelsea have it. Chelsea beat Paris Saint-Germain, and he kept the trophy. So the team had to take home a replica. He's currently, showing the trophy in the Oval Office next to the super glued gold fixtures that he's super gluing onto everything. And he also stayed in the photos just like he did with Spain. He's such a weirdo. He's so needy. Meanwhile, Argentina, whose team is being actually investigated for corruption, here's how the Argentina fans reacted to losing. damn embarrassing. What terrible sore losers. They reacted and they went insane because they lost the world. Or I mean, how horrible. And by the way, some of the Argentinian fans called the cops on a reveler who was watching on one of the big screens in Times Square because the reveler was waving a Palestinian flag. They called the cops on him. But the beautiful thing is the cop was like, you can't call the cops on him. He's exercising his free speech. Get used to it. You don't like it, too bad. That's his free speech. So kudos to the NYPD on that one. The NYPD guy was like, I'm not gonna, you want me to arrest him?
Take your ass back to Argentina if you don't want to see.
Yeah, it's like the guy's a Palestinian. He's like, the guy had a Palestinian flag. So what? Like the cop, it was a chubby white cop. He was great. He was one of our spicy whites. We're gonna adopt him into the spicy white community because he was like, it's just a flag. Get over it. He said it with that New York accent. It was amazing. So the NYPD stepped up on that when they were like, yeah. So even the Argentinian fans were terrible. They were totally racist. They were throwing things at iShow Speed. They were throwing water at him, calling him the N-word, calling him a monkey, making monkey sounds at him. It was awful. Like they were awful. So the whole thing became this like proxy in people's minds for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It became like a surrogate for it. And again, this Muslim player who prayed, did his Muslim prayer after the game was over, he's become this like symbol of Muslim resistance, right? And there's also the weird part about when he was a baby, he took this photo with Messi for UNICEF. And then they met again 19 years later, and he's 19. There's a lot of numerology stuff to it. But because that is the kind of proxy, kind of everything is kind of all now zeroing back and cycling back to Israel-Palestine. And anytime you see a Muslim political candidate or politician interviewed, they are not asked to focus on the place they're running for, right? Mamdani was constantly asked about Israel. Does Israel have a right to exist? Does Israel? They're constantly like forced to lock in on Israel, even if they're running for mayor of New York City or running for Senate from Michigan. So I want y'all to listen to Jake Tapper interviewing Abdul El Sayed, and the inevitable thing happens, and he answers.
Wrong. It sounds as though you and Mayor Mamdani disagree about how big this tent should be, whether there's room for it in the tent for Israel supporters.
Well, Jake, I'll tell you this. There's always room in the tent for folks. And I'm for human rights. I'm for equal rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination. Whatever you think about the right of Israel to exist, I wonder if they have a right to our tax dollars. And here's the thing about it. Every time I come on CNN, you guys ask me the same questions about these theoretical rights of existence or whether or not I agree with the mayor of New York. I'm running for Senate in Michigan. And in Michigan, people can't afford their basic needs. They don't get the healthcare they need and deserve. They're worried about the quality of their kids' school. And the question seems less to be about the interests of Michiganders than the fact of something happening 6,000 miles away. I'm running for Michigan Senate, and I want our tax dollars spent in Michigan on our schools and on our healthcare. And the idea that somebody wants to vote to send that money away, to me, seems to be an anathema. So, you know, with all due respect to the mayor of New York, I just think my tax dollars should be spent here. And I'd rather have a conversation about Michiganders than what's happening 6,000 miles away.
The war with Iran is clearly heating up. 3 U.S. service members, well, 2 were killed and 1 is missing overnight. They were stationed in Jordan. 20 weeks ago, when Iran's supreme leader was killed, you told your staff, according to audio obtained by the Washington Free Beacon, quote, there are a lot of people in Dearborn who are sad today, so like I just don't want to comment on Khamenei at all, unquote. I thought that quote was interesting because the Ayatollah has killed tens of thousands of innocent Iranians, not to mention the proxies that Iran has funded that have killed innocent civilians all over the Middle East. Why were you worried about offending people who support the Ayatollah?
Jake, on a day where we're mourning the loss of 2 more service members in a war we never should have fought, I think all of us ought to step back and ask whether or not everybody in Michigan, frankly, everybody in America, shouldn't be sad about the fact that this president, backed by the prime minister of a foreign government, took us to a war we had no business fighting in. So yeah, I didn't want to comment on it then because it's a ridiculous pretext. And now you're asking me about the Ayatollah, who's dead, by the way, and you're not asking me about the service members who've died. You're not asking me about whether or not this war should have ever been fought. You're not asking me about whether or not the costs that are being borne by Michiganders in the tax dollars we pay or the gas prices that are insane right now are worth it. And so, look, let's have a conversation based in Michigan. I'm running for Senate in Michigan. And I think here in Michigan, all of us are probably sad about the fact that we went to war that we never should have fought. I'd rather our money be spent here.
Do you know how many Iranian Americans live in Michigan? Jason, you want to guess?
I don't know, but I'm about sick and tired of Jake tapping his ass, man. I'm dead ass. He's just sitting there like an idiot with his mouth open, slack jaw. Why? That is so true. Why do we always have to ask, does Israel have a right to exist? Does every other country have a right to exist? What is wrong with these people? And the fact that he goes along with this shit, it annoys him. Jake Tapper is an asshole and should be fired.
And the reality is, though, I think what Abdul El-Sayed said is absolutely true. Just because he is Muslim, he is constantly, it is demanded of him that he answer these questions about Israel and whether Israel has a right to exist. Israel exists. What if he said no? What would he do about it? Exactly. He's literally a medical doctor who's a health official in Michigan. Let's say he said no, it doesn't have a right to exist. What do you think he's going to do about it? If he became a senator, was he going to make it unexist? Liberia exists. If I say Liberia doesn't have a right to exist because it was formed by, people who hated black people who wanted to expel all the blacks from America, no one ever asked me if Liberia has a right to exist.
It's a better question. Does America have a right to exist?
Right.
We took it from the Native Americans. Do we have a right to exist?
And no one ever asks. And he made the point that you haven't even you set it up saying service members have died, and then you didn't ask me about the service members. You still went. There are an estimated 145. That is not a misquote. An estimated 145 Iranian Americans living in Dearborn. The vast majority of Dearborn's Muslim community are Arab Americans. You realize Iranians are not Arabs; they're Persians. They've been at war with the Arabs, for eons. Iranians are Persian.
They don't know that far.
And Palestinians are Arabs. So anything that he said, let's say it offended the Iranians that's 145 people. Dearborn has it has the largest concentrated Middle Eastern population in the United States. And if people were sad about the start of that war, maybe they were sad about the 160 some odd school kids who we bombed with our money, that this man keeps saying we should, instead of spending it bombing school kids in Iran, I don't know, spend it on healthcare in Michigan. And this is what brings me to a conversation that I really want to have. And I'm really excited about the guest that we have to have it, because this notion of Palestine, of pro-Palestine, has become a wedge issue even inside the Democratic Party. There are people inside the Democratic Party who view, being pro-Palestinian as being as an issue that is for white progressives. It's not an issue for black people. It's an issue solely for white progressives, and it's being sort of imposed on African Americans, even though the polling shows the opposite. It shows that African Americans are dead set against American money, even if it's not a top issue for most African American voters. They overwhelmingly, all of the numbers, the polling shows that African Americans overwhelmingly oppose U.S. tax dollars being sent to Israel, and that when framed, as we just spoke with Representative McKinney in hour one, when you frame it as, would you rather have your money, your tax money, go to Israel to give them free healthcare, to give them free education, free college education, to give them a lifestyle that is an upscale lifestyle that most African Americans would love to aspire to, but in many cases can't afford, to have them live a more posh lifestyle than Americans, while we can't afford healthcare. We're told it's too expensive. We can't have free preschool, too expensive. We're told that all of the things that the Democratic socialists are asking for, which is really kind of basic things, right? Free or low cost transportation, subsidized groceries when you can't afford to eat, Head Start, programs that would actually help black people.
It was the stuff that Democrats used to stand for. They don't stand for that no more. So
Right.
now they have changed all these policies for corporate greed, crypto money, and they expect us all to go along with it when people can't even feed themselves. I mean, it's a joke. The Democratic Party needs to change. If not, vote their asses out.
And here's the thing that, thank you for saying that, Jason, I agree, is that the challenge for those of us who are both Democrats and progressives and pro-Palestine is, number one, it's clearly not a white progressive issue, because I'm not a white progressive. And I agree with white progressives on it. In some cases, I agree with some MAGA people who are now on the side belatedly. But just because I agree with people doesn't mean that I'm with them on everything, right? I mean, white progressives have a challenge in that they're not always making a case to African Americans based on racial disparity. And so Bernie Sanders, when he ran for president in 2016, did not attract a large African American following over age 30. because Black people over 30, Black voters over 30 really have lived their lives in a racial frame. And when the argument is made about disparity and it's made without race being taken into account, a lot of Black folks won't go with that. And then you have other issues where Democrats traditionally have been very pro-Israel because in the church, a lot of pastors have been very pro-Israel and are preaching pro-Israel from the pulpit as if the modern state of Israel is the Israel from the Bible, which it's not. The modern state of Israel is not the Israel from the Bible, and the people who live in Israel are not the Hebrews from the Bible. But they sort of, Bibi Netanyahu presents it that way. And because they're of the same religion, they're saying effectively, we are literally the people from the Bible. And that is the way African Americans oftentimes and white Christians are taught. And so there is this connection between Christians in America and Israelis that Bibi Netanyahu pushes to the hilt in order to keep people on side. Well, a funny thing happened after a genocide is that a lot of American Christians are breaking from that. And also a lot of Americans are less going to church. And so American Christians are kind of waking up to the fact that this Israel that is in real life is not the Israel from the Bible. Even worse, it's a genocidal, expansionist nuclear state. And we're like, we don't want it. And there are other issues that cause a lot of Black progressives like myself to say, hold on, Palestine is a fundamentally Black issue. And we're going to get into some of the reasons why. I have two really, really great guests that are logging in now. When they're ready, I'm going to bring them on. But the reality is that this church hinge and the decoupling of the political Zionism from Christian religious social justice, the fact that those are now being decoupled for a lot of people. And it's been like that before. SNCC was very much back in the day pro-Palestine, but now it's become a thing inside of the Democratic Party. All right, so let me bring on my guests. These are two really great people to talk about this. I'm really, really, really excited. Let me introduce Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes. I like to give his whole name. Senior pastor at Friendship West Baptist Church and Democratic nominee for Congress in the Fightin' 30th District, formerly represented by Jasmine Crockett. And I want to also introduce the man who inspired this segment, Pastor Michael McBride, AKA Pastor Mike, lead pastor of the Way Christian Center, executive director of Live Free USA, and co-founder of the Black Church PAC. Thank you both for being here. And I do want to start with you, Pastor Mike, because we were actually on Don Lemon's show earlier today, and you said something that caused me to immediately text you as soon as I got off the air and say, would you have this conversation with me again tonight? Because this question of whether pro-Palestine sentiment is a white progressive thing is becoming a thing in some pockets of Black America. What do you make of that framing?
Well, it's only, and great to have you, Joy, and, we might as well just, continue the conversation we've been having for the last week. It's only a thing because of the hegemonic control of white progressives. Black people care about everybody. We'll show up and fight for everybody, but won't nobody come show up and fight for us. So this is not about should Black people care about Palestine. The question is, what does it mean to make sure that our care for everyone does not cost Black people our lives? Because I'm going to tell you something. You all should rule the day when Black people are not around to fight for your issues.
Right.
Right? This isn't a question about should Black people be fighting. The question is about power. It is about who gets to decide on what terms and under what conditions can Black power, Black people's lives be centered when and as we continue to fight for everyone else. And so today we just laid to rest Nolan Wells. I've been, we've been talking about Nolan Wells all day, various different places. So I don't know if AOC, if Bernard Sanders people got me calling Bernard, if Bernie Sanders and our beloved, DSA friends across the country have put out statements standing with the grief that this Black family has, and we as Black America have the continuing death of our own family members at the hands of people that ought to hold their lives tenderly and with sacred care. And so, yes, all of us who love peace and justice, we don't pick and choose what we fight for, but we are saying it ought not be this dissonance. The question is not do we care? The question is, do white progressives and will white progressives make sure that our care does not come at the expense of our well-being? That, I think, is the question that is before us. And no one's going to make me stop talking about mass death happening anywhere. I'm going to talk about it in Sudan, the Congo, Palestine, all the places that come to my attention, right? And so, yes, we should talk about it, but we should also call into account white progressives and others who don't want to talk about our pain as well. We're not going to stop talking. I just want to give you the altar call. Come start talking about our stuff too.
Yeah. And I think that is the thing, you know, Dr. Freddie Haynes, and I was talking before you guys got on, I don't know if you were backstage for this, is that, you know, for generations, many of us grew up in a church that taught that you have to support Israel in order for God to bless you. And, you know, you hear people like Senator Ted Cruz say that in his politics, as if the state, the secular state, is the same thing from the Bible. And that's been used to keep us on side with things like AIPAC and the trips to Israel that members of Congress are invited to. If and when, sir, you get elected, I'm sure you're going to be invited to go and do the Israel trip, but you're not going to be shown Palestine. You're not going to be shown.
Are you going to go, Freddie? Are you going to go?
No way. And thanks so much for having me and having this conversation, Joy. I've been invited to go to Palestine. I've been invited to go to Bethlehem. Those are trips that I want to take. And I really appreciate you all having this conversation, because we are the people who lift up Martin Luther King Jr. Not only did he say, "I have a dream," he said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And I think that mantra is reflected in how Black people have always done our politics. We have always looked out for everyone. As a matter of fact, when you talk about the 64 Civil Rights Bill, the 65 Voting Rights Bill, and the 68 Housing Bill, all a result of the Civil Rights Movement from the mid-50s to the end of the 60s, they benefited not just Black people, they benefited the whole country. As a matter of fact, the country came closer to becoming a democracy because Black people have believed in democracy even when we were victimized by the hypocritical practice of democracy. So I'm with my man, Pastor Mike, and that is, you ain't got to worry about us standing for what's right, no matter where wrong is taking place. Our concern is going to always be, okay, we've had your back. Are you going to have our backs? And the other piece, Joy, that you mentioned that is so profound is that sadly, a lot of us have been trained in right-wing conservative theology that lifts up Israel in a way that does not divorce modern day Israel from biblical Israel. And I always say, if you want to say that you are biblical Israel, never forget the God of the Hebrew Bible was severe toward in judging biblical Israel because of injustice, because of how they mistreated the poor, because of oppression. And so you want to tell me that you want to be down and call yourself biblical Israel, and the way you are mistreating and oppressing those who are in Palestine, those in Gaza, what's going on right there? A war is still being declared on Gaza. A hostile takeover is still being declared on Gaza. And you want to call yourself biblical Israel? God has a word of judgment for you. And that kind of understanding, that hermeneutic, that liberationist, womanist hermeneutic that sees the Bible not from the top down, but from the bottom up, that's how we view scripture in this day. Unfortunately, a lot have been trained in those seminaries and Bible colleges that have a very conservative, and I'll even say it, distorted view of Israel. And they forget that God is a God of justice, and you cannot call yourself worshiping the God of justice who sides with the oppressed and call yourself supporting what's happening in Israel today.
Yeah, indeed. Not to mention the fact that Zionism is a political belief system, not a religion. It is separate from Judaism. But you gave an altar call earlier on Don Lemon's show, Pastor Mike, and I want to let you listen to Abdul El Sayed do some of what you're talking about. I don't believe that he has issued a statement about Nolan Wells, and he certainly should, and about these other issues of Black loss, and I think he should do that. But I want you to listen to him talking about systemic racism and give him a grade on whether he is coming in the direction that you want to see him go.
Police really need to use guns. Do we need as much of a police force? And so if we ask ourselves about how we spend money in the public, where that money goes, where it comes from, we need to make a lot better decisions about investing in the things that root out poverty rather than investing in policing poverty. And we need to understand that these are racialized questions because of systemic racism. When we make a choice to invest in policing in a majority Black community rather than to invest in public schools, that choice is influenced by systemic racism. And so we need to take that on, we need to root it out, and we need to be investing in people in the communities in which they live, learn, work, pray, and play, rather than be investing in policing them in those communities. And when we talk about the question of quote unquote defunding the police, it's a question of asking, how do we right-size government away from the racist ideologies that have led us to investing in war material for policing rather than public health for children?
What do you make of that argument?
I think it's a great start. I think it's a great start. And I think he ought to continue to develop his proficiency in being able to describe, if I were to offer any, advice to him for free, obviously, I would say that, it is not just enough to talk about defunding the police, of which, many of us used that narrative framing. We ought to also talk about not just the schools, but there are public health, crime prevention, and gun violence reduction strategies that can secure peace, security in the short term. That could be scaled up all across the country. Now, his state, in Detroit, has a powerful community violence intervention ecosystem. My question to him is, he ought to do a roundtable with those loved ones right there in his state, right there in Detroit, and let them educate him and his audience on how we reduce gun violence in the near term. We don't have to wait for schools to be, overwhelming with funding to get reduction in gun violence. And so again, part of this is, it's a great start because I believe many of them are coming to this conversation a little bit late in the game, but they ought to invite people like Donavan and New Era Detroit and all these loved ones in Detroit, in Michigan, who can help him sharpen the conversation about public safety and community safety. It's a great start for sure. Glad he mentioned racism and all those different things. But this conversation is not just about racism. It's also about public safety, community safety. People want to feel safe. We don't feel safe by ballooning budgets of police departments. So what's the remedy? Invest in this community violence intervention stuff, and then continue to reimagine public safety. And we get safety along the way to that word out there that some would use, abolition.
Yeah. And Dr. Freddie Haynes, who, he said, as you are running for Congress, this is a place where public policy can actually kick in. I have 3 headlines I want to show to you. And, Pastor Mike and I talk about this a lot. The question about Israel is not just about money going over there for war. It's also what comes back here. Our police departments, this is an old article. This is like 2016.
Yeah.
For years, maybe for decades, have been training with the IDF. And you see the brutal tactics that they use in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank, and in Gaza. They then train police here in the U.S. Next one for you, Jason, please. Cop City. When Cop City was being fought in Atlanta, one of the things they were fighting is the fact that they understood that this was going to be IDF-style training for U.S. police. So the tactics that are being practiced on brown Palestinians get used on Black Atlantans and Black people in Detroit. And then the last thing is the surveillance state. The FBI literally owns Israeli spyware. Palantir partners with the Israeli state to perfect mass surveillance that then comes back here. So the things that we're doing with our money, Pastor, are reverberating and multiplying inside of our communities. Is that something that you expect to be able to talk with the Democratic leadership about in Congress?
No question, because again, as we know, and you have pointed it out brilliantly, and that is that this country has partnered with Israel in oppressing Palestinians, utilizing the same tactics oftentimes to suppress peaceful dissent in this country. This country has partnered with Israel and shown Israel how to engage in suppressing dissent. And so one of the things that, as far as I'm concerned, is necessary as it relates to public policy and the Democrats have to be serious about, and that is, are we going to truly be a Democratic Party? And the word democratic has to do with people powered. And when it's people powered and not state policed, then the Democratic Party will be true to values that speak to what it is that we should be about. And so as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be vitally necessary to have these conversations with my Democratic colleagues where we look at ourselves in the mirror, continue the tradition of Pastor Mike, and open the doors of the church and say, are we going to be truly a Democratic Party that's a party for the people, of the people, by the people, and that's reflected in democratic values, even in our relationship with Israel. We should not be funding oppression. We should not be funding suppression. We should not be funding state-sponsored violence in this country, and we surely ought not be sponsoring state-sanctioned violence in Israel. And that's exactly what we're doing while we have 150 million Americans who are, economically insecure, while we have too many Americans who do not have access to health care that Israelis have access to. And so we have to have a serious conversation about what democratic values really look like. And if we have that conversation, there's some funding that we're going to have to withdraw as it relates to what we do with Israel.
Yeah, and I would add UAE, which is one of the countries that is pushing the war in Sudan and not allowing it to end because they're benefiting financially. They want that gold to come to UAE. You could say the same thing about multiple countries. Look, Congress should be talking to Apple. They should be hauling Apple in for hearings about their part in what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. As you said, and Pastor Mike, I'll throw this to you, Black folks care about all of this at the same time. It's not as if it's a one Israel and Palestine only. All of this injustice, and much of it is centered on the same people we're giving money to, UAE, Israel. We're throwing money at the Middle East, and it's coming back to haunt Black lives. I want you to do something. I know that you can comment on that, but also I know you wanted to praise, and I think we should praise the members of the Congressional Black Caucus who've taken this step toward embracing revolutionary justice. Half the Black Caucus did vote for this Massey amendment that would have ended funding to the Israeli state. So talk about that, and what do you think that does to? Does it change the politics of the CBC at all?
Well, I think we have to acknowledge that the idea that over half of the Congressional Black Caucus joined what many of us believe is the moral vote to not send money to create more havoc and death for our loved ones and friends and colleagues in a whole nother side of the world is a win. It shows us that there is indeed wind at our backs on making this issue an important issue. We didn't get 100% of the caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, but we ought to celebrate that over half have moved in that direction. And I don't think we've seen that in our lifetime. And so again, this is part and parcel of what I think is so important for us to continue to pray. We did a Justice Revival just this week in Indianapolis, and it was a blessing to stand next to Representative Andre Carson and know that he did not support that. It was a blessing to be able to know that my Congresswoman Latifah Simon did not support that. And 42 other names. We ought to familiarize ourselves with these names. We ought to send them a call and a thank you and let them know that people are responding to this issue, and then ask them to take the next step and make sure that vote translates back home when it comes to policing and accountability and funding public safety work, right? So we ought to help folks make this connection all the way through. But yes, when people vote the way we want them to vote, and we know that there is a rabid price to pay because of the naysayers, then it is upon us, the people, right? When Pastor Haynes gets to the Congress, do you know he's going to need us to cover him? Somebody say, man, he going, because Pastor Haynes going in there to represent us the way the Bible says. Somebody say, amen, right? And
amen.
So we got to have this muscle memory to celebrate our loved ones when they are on the right side of the issue. And let me also say this. There are those who are anti-Black who will use the issue of Palestine, the issue of AIPAC as a cover for their anti-Blackness to attack Black leaders and politicians in a way that makes all of us feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And so there has to be a reckoning and an accountability for those individuals who we agree with on the issues of AIPAC and Palestine. They must also be given an altar call to make sure that you do not disrespect our Black women. You do not disrespect our elders who are not moving at the speed you want them to move. So you think you can call them out their name and reduce them by racial stereotypes. That does not get you favor with a lot of us now. Some of y'all is losing your mind a little bit on this stuff, right?
And losing support, losing your mind, but losing support. And it's one of the wedges between much of the white progressive left and Black folks who are also progressive and are part of this revolutionary 100%. Justice tradition, but they're not going to roll with people that are anti-Black. We can be on the same side. There's MAGA that agree with me on Palestine. That don't mean I'm gonna hang with them.
That's right. And it's worth saying that we know there's anti-Blackness all up and down the Democratic Party, right?
Come on.
But you know what's happened? Black people have struck a deal with parts of the Democratic Party up until this day that make sure that we can get one person calls extraction. We can extract as much as we possibly can to help Black people not have to deal with the hardness of the rabid anti-Black white supremacist energy that comes now in our age from the Republican Party. And I want to say to all of our loved ones on the left and anywhere in between, we can't have a negotiation about a way forward, but it cannot be through the lens and through the rhetoric of anti-Blackness. You will get a conversation from us face to face or in private or publicly when that happens. We ought to all bind together and realize that what unites us is greater than what divides us. Particularly, I love how you're saying it, Joy, around the revolutionary notion and concept of justice for all. It is revolutionary. We ought to bind together, but let's hold together, right? With some decorum and with some respect for the struggle, unique struggle of Black folks in this country as well.
And just note also, please, for those of you who are on the other side of this, Van Jones don't speak for us. So you, if you calling him and sending him money, he speak for Van Jones and whoever paying Van Jones. But just know, on the other side, if you think that you could change this revolutionary justice tradition to take Palestine out, and you can call Van Jones for that, that's probably not who you should call, because he don't speak for us. We don't know him. I mean, we know who he is, but we don't listen to him.
He's not like us.
They don't
like us.
Let me give you the final word to tell people how they can support you, Dr. Freddie Haynes, because I know it is important and expensive to run for president. Maybe one day for president. President. Your name is Frederick Douglass. Maybe you should be president.
No,
I like
thank
that
you
idea.
so much.
But please, how can we support you, brother?
Thank you. I appreciate you. And let me just also say this. Jasmine Crockett is still serving. She's doing a great job, still serving. Glad to see her name down there voting for revolutionary justice.
Amen.
That is global. So I wanted to make sure I said that.
Yes, I apologize. Thank you for that gentle correction, because yes, Jasmine Crockett is still there until January, until this brother takes over that seat. But in the interim, our sister is doing the lioness work. Of standing for justice. She is to the last day going to serve her district and her people. That's a bad sister. We're going to just follow whatever she does next, and she'll be the best advisor to our next congressman from that district, Dr. Freddie Haynes. So yes, sir.
Hey, amen to that. So I'll just say this, Joy. One of the things that has been heartbreaking is to discover from the inside that there is a whole ecosystem an economy around campaigning, an economy around politics. And so one of the things that I'll be on mission to do, and that is to make sure that we overturn Citizens United and begin to get big money out of politics. In the meantime, you cannot win the game unless you get in the game and play the game well. And so I am asking for support financially. I am asking that you would stand with us in District 30 in Dallas. Please recognize that as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to Congress to simply represent the interest of District 30. I have a nation I'm concerned about, a world I'm concerned about. And so I hope you join us in bringing outside voices, values, and vision in the House, in Congress. And so you can support us by going to HaynesForCongress.com, and you can please generously donate. We do not believe that big money should control politics. And so that means we can all have a voice if we recognize that we have a part to play, even in ensuring that persons who represent us are never having to submit to being paid by outside influences. I never will accept AIPAC money. I do not believe in corporate funding of finances. And so as a consequence, that means I have to depend on the people because I want to represent the people. So that's what I'm asking. Again, HaynesForCongress.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representing the people in Congress should be more like pastoring. And so I'm excited about your run. We need a little bit more. We need to continue the revolutionary justice tradition of that great district, District 30, in the great state of Texas. Thank you so much, Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes. Thank you very much, Pastor Mike, my brothers. I appreciate you both.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Joy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Before we jump to our next, we're running a little bit behind. I know we have Chris waiting in the wings, but let's play just a little clip of the Nolan Wells funeral that we live streamed on our channel today. Jason, this is D15.
First, I want to give all thanks and honor and glory to God.
Oh, it's low.
For choosing Elmore and me to be Nolan's parents. We thank you, Lord, for the beautiful 18 years that you blessed us with him. Thank you for the joy he brought not only to our family, but also to his friends and everyone in the community whose lives he touched. Nolan had such a gentle, calming spirit about him. He had a way of making people feel seen, welcome, and valued. He could lift your confidence with just a few words and make you feel like you belonged. If you ever had the privilege of meeting our son Nolan or calling him a friend, then you experienced a glimpse of God's love through him. He was both protective and nurturing. He often told us that one day he wanted to have 3 daughters that he would name Sophia, Charlotte, and Olivia. He had a deep love for the Lord and an unwavering faith that was evident in the way he lived his life. As much as our hearts are broken, we find peace in knowing that our son is resting in the arms of the Lord. We will miss everything about him, from his quiet nature to the corny jokes, his gentle smile, the way he made everyone around him feel comfortable, loved, and at ease. Your absence has left an emptiness that can never truly be filled. A piece of our hearts will always be missing. Nolan, your father and I are incredibly proud of you. We've always been proud of you, of the young man you were, and we will always be proud of the legacy of love, kindness, and faith that you have left behind. In a world that can often feel dark, be like Nolan. Be the light that brightens the lives of those around you. Be the warmth for those who may be feeling the coldness of the world. Love deeply, protect fiercely, and welcome others with kindness. And remain faithful knowing that God is always with you. Lastly, I ask that each of you keep Nolan's memory alive. Hold him close in your hearts. Share his stories and never stop saying his name. As long as we continue to remember him, his light will continue to shine through us all. Nolan, we love you. We'll continue to fight for you. And until we meet again, and thank you all for coming. Thank you.
That could not have been easy. Christine Wansley burying her son, Nolan Wells, on today. And as you can see, joining me now is my dear friend and brother and play cousin, Chris Witherspoon. Before we get into the segment in chief of what we plan to talk about, you know, there is this thing, and you cover entertainment, but it is this weird world, Chris, where ordinary people have to learn to speak on TV without any media training. They're just called upon and forced into the public spotlight. Since you and I met, since we were covering Trayvon Martin at the Griot, it is a strange new world, isn't it?
Oh my God, it is. It is not what you just showed is just gut wrenching. It's heartbreaking. And I think she's handling herself really well. Part of what is, I think, not silver lining, but you know, the glimmer of hope in this story is there's so much press around Nolan. He's become the face of, I think, a lot of, you know, young people of color who go missing or who are, you know, who get killed or murdered or whatever happened. And she's been handling herself so well. Her and the husband. Press, going on Good Morning America, going on NBC News, all these shows, and also not just doing press, but helping to speak about what happened, because it feels like an awful Netflix documentary, a 3-part Netflix series that we're seeing play out in real time. So it's very difficult. Yeah, and it's just a terrible thing. As Reverend Sharpton said back during the Trayvon Martin days, it is natural for an adult to bury their parent and unnatural for a parent to bury their child. So it's just very hard. But we're gonna make a turn. This is called a hard turn, because you did something really incredible this weekend. And I really actually just wanted to bring you on just to celebrate you, because we have been hyping ViewerCon for like weeks. Yeah. But I don't even think that I processed how amazing it was going to be, because I couldn't picture. I'd never been to that venue in Newark before, and I've only been to Newark a few times, really, when you invited me. So I didn't know what I was going to visually see. But Chris, 2 stages, packed halls, celebrities, stars, debuts of. Talk about ViewerCon. Talk about what you created. Joy, thank you. I will do that, but I want to first give you your flowers for actually coming. You all, I don't know if you know the weather in New Jersey and Newark, in New York City on Saturday. It was a monsoon. It was crazy outside. And Joy called me. Joy was set to go on like at 10:45 for me to interview her. She called me around like 9:40, and I was like, oh, she's canceling. It was crazy outside. And I was going to say, you know what? I understand, Joy, but I want to say, Joy, when you walked in, I knew it was going to be okay. You were covered in rain. Everybody was covered in water. But the moment I gave you my hug and I was like, we're going to be okay. We're going to do this. And you set the tone. Part of what made ViewerCon so special, and what we're seeing as ViewerCon is exploding on social media, is that everyone was authentic. Everyone came and told their stories and gave advice and all their notes throughout their careers to the audience. You were on 2 different stages, Joy, and you dropped so many gems. Bevy Smith also, who followed up after you, she was so open. I thought I knew Bevy's story. Bevy talked about her journey in ways that she never has before. Karamo Brown, I interviewed him one-on-one. Karamo was so open about
after the Real World, even when he was on the Real World, he was having suicidal ideation. We all thought he had made it, and he was battling depression. He was talking about whenever he was on Queer Eye also, you know, and what he went through, things that I never knew. He was just so transparent. Also being broke before he got Queer Eye. People think that when you do TV, you're making money. He was doing all this work for Access Hollywood and places and not getting paid before he got Queer Eye. So it was incredible. And it really was about the future of entertainment. That's what's at the heart of EuroCon. And there were so many people like Tay Diggs, who's one of our sponsors, his company Micro House, who really talked about the future of this business and how so many of these stars have these hit shows. They're not getting their data and insights from the studios. So Micro House, his new vertical film company, they are giving their content creators who are making money with them transparency around all their data and insights so that they could then take those verticals and have them bubble up to be scripted TV shows like for Lifetime or Netflix or Hulu, and they can really own their audience. But our presenting sponsor stars, as you mentioned, we had the premiere of Fightland right after the Raising Kanan panel. Utterly amazing. Just thank you to everybody who came out. We so appreciate it.
Well, the thing that's so amazing is, so Stars was a presenting sponsor this year, but I promise y'all, I was saying at the top of the show, Chris, that next year, ViewerCon is going to be at the level of Comic-Con and Star Trek Con. This thing was so huge, and people who didn't make it are hearing about it and being like, oh man, I wish I had gone. Yo, y'all, next year, you're going to have to get your tickets very early because it's going to be hard to get tickets. It was so good, and it was so packed. The number of people who came out in the monsoon, when I tell you it was a monsoon, they came out in the monsoon rain to hang out. That's the venue. That's before it started. This was us clowning and cooling. But it was so much fun. We had such a great time. And that's just one of the, I wish you guys could see it. You guys could see the full stage there. But we had a great time. And also the second stage. Talk about that venue, because that venue is actually beautiful.
No, it's a gorgeous venue. I mean, they have everything from operas and jazz concerts. It's called New Jersey Performing Arts Center. It's a stunning facility close to Prudential. Prudential is where you go for the big concerts, but the NJPAC, they do have several stages you can create, and the staff was truly incredible. And listen, I chose NJPAC for a very particular reason. It was a big investment on our behalf, but I wanted people to walk out of NJPAC and say, wait, this is Newark? That was Newark? People have this perception of what going to Newark is in this country, and it is rapidly changing. That is why they wanted to do ViewerCon there intentionally. Next year, we will be doing multiple days. We're also going to try and hit LA next year as well. Yes. But Joy, to your point, people are craving connection. Someone asked me afterwards, like, you know, why ViewerCon? And I said, it's a conference, but it's really, the con for me is connection. We are in an industry right now where no one knows what's happening. No one knows how to sell shows right now. No one knows how to get these scripts greenlit. You know, actors also don't really feel secure. People that are fans also are watching their favorite shows get canceled left and right. Yes. So ViewerCon is really about coming out, connecting. We are intentional about, you better walk away with like 5 or 6 numbers. Okay, don't come to ViewerCon and just be cute. Be cute. Wear your outfit, be cute, but don't just be cute. Walk away and build, because that is how we make it in this business. We have to build across, Joy.
Yeah. And okay, so I started off with, you know, I had to start a little politics, y'all, because you know how I do. And so I was charged with interviewing the mayor of Newark. And by the way, if y'all have not been to Newark, it is super cute. It's very artsy. It's like a little fabulous, like little artsy district. It is a very cute, cool little city. But the mayor, Rashe Baraka, is an artist. And he was trying to tell me he was not going to drop bars because he's a poet. And he also records his poetry to music. And I was like, drop some bars. And he was like, no. And I was like, you can't drop 1 bar? He was like, no. I was like, how about half a bar? And then this happened. This is E2, Jason.
Basically how it goes, you know? Yeah. Like what we want, you should go get on your title and look up what we want. Like what we want. We want to love ourselves freely. Yes. We want unfettered images of our grandmothers in our dreams. Yes. We want to praise our own God. Yes. We want to see him with dark dreads and thick lips. Yeah, we want our music practiced every day, taught every day, and it's twice again on Sunday, right? That's what we want. That's how it goes.
Come on, you get, now listen, y'all to get, you need a clap for that.
By the way, next year, Chris, we're making him do it over music. I promise you. Because we didn't think he was going to do the bars, but then he started doing it, and then he got into it. He didn't want to stop.
Joy, we are using that clip. We're gonna add some beats to it, and we're gonna use that clip to promo ViewerCon next year. We're gonna make it into a whole thing. It's gonna be like he dropped bars at ViewerCon. Come see what he does next year, and he would only do that for you, Joy. I want to thank you because the mayor came out. He was so gracious, so excited. In a monsoon, also they canceled everything in Newark. There was gonna be a cookout. There was gonna be a picnic. There was gonna be a street fair. Everything got canceled. ViewerCon was the one thing he came out, but he came out for you. He knows your audience. He knows the Joy Reid Show is the platform for politics, and that was just a great interview.
And by the way, he was our very first interview on this show. We actually recorded his interview first. It aired the day before our debut show, so he was like our first interview. So it was really great to see him again, and he's one of the coolest brothers.
You recorded that in Newark. You recorded that first interview
in Newark. Yes, the first time we interviewed him at State of the People, because he showed up for State of the People, and we pulled him aside to interview him. Absolutely. So my first interview with him and my second interview, both in Newark. It's a cool brother. People talk a lot about Mamdani, but Mamdani is very cool, but he's not the only cool mayor. There's a bunch of really great mayors in this country right now, and I would argue Ras Baraka is one of the coolest. Also got a shout out to the mayor of Chicago, Mad Cool. You might want to consider taking one to Chicago too, because I'm telling you, ViewerCon Chicago will be hype. All right, so we're gonna take it everywhere. So let's now really quick before I let you go, we got to talk about really quick World Cup. Because World Cup happened the next day, and the Lamine Yamal story is such an incredible story. It is a Netflix show. Like this might have to be, you might have to executive produce a doc about this, Chris. Lamine Yamal, how crazy is it that he did a photo shoot as a baby for UNICEF with Messi, Lionel Messi, and then 19 years later, at 19 years old, he who wore number 19 faces Messi, who wore number 19, and he has the torch passed to him because he beats him in the World Cup. It's numerology.
Oh,
it's weird.
I didn't even catch that part.
It's all 19, 19, 19.
Wow.
It's crazy.
No, but to your point, Joy, when I was watching this, even when I saw this story, I was like, call Steven Spielberg, call the best directors, cast it, get it cast. This will win the Oscar. You can't make this stuff up. Even that game going into overtime, like you can't make it up. It is name the movie that movie can't beat for an Oscar. It is the perfect story. And I think it was just beautiful seeing him hold him and the way he looked at him. You know, I think that there is power in passing on and affirming someone's abilities. And to me, that just felt like he was affirming him as special. And I guarantee you that little boy always looked at that photo and remembered that icon, that legend touched him. He held him, he blessed him. And it might be why he beat him. Okay.
Come on. He passed the torch, not even knowing he was doing it literally 19 years later. Chris Witherspoon, congratulations on ViewerCon. Come back anytime. We're gonna finally go and see the Odyssey this coming weekend. So I want you to come back because we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk.
Yes, I got more on that. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you. All right, guys. So I guess you can probably guess what our moment of joy is gonna be. Because
did you really just say
I said morning of joy.
Morning of joy?
Because remember my show was going to be called Morning Joy. Do you guys remember the story?
I do remember that story, but it's the moment of joy. You got to guess? Moment
of joy.
Oh.
I was almost going to have a show called Morning Joy, but we couldn't do it because
Morning Joe
didn't want us to. But yeah, it's 19, 19, 19. Okay, wait. We got a numerology person in here. Robin Leonard 6376 says 19, 19, 19 is 111. It's 111. Okay, what's the significance of 111? Now you got to tell me, what is 111? 19, 19, 19 is 111. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? I'm going to worry about it all night. You got to tell me more, say more words. It's not enough. So it is definitely written in the stars. And we went through all of these permutations and all of these other teams, and everything had to align. England had to beat France, and all of these things had to happen.
Right now.
All of these, one is God. Ooh, Cecil Bear, 49er. Collie Bear, 49er said one is God's number, Jason. One is God's number.
Right. 111, the Trinity.
That's what I'm saying. People have been saying, security. People have been saying that there's a numerological, people were predicting that Spain would win because of that numerology thing. 111 is the time to manifest. Woo! 11 means destiny. 111 is a time to manifest. That's 19 in hexadecimal.
Just getting deep.
Y'all are getting deep. Listen, the chats don't play around. The chats are serious. They know things.
But they're readers. They're intelligent.
They're readers.
What does your shirt say?
It says, I'm a reader, intelligent, informed, compassionate, faithful, and joyful.
That's what they are.
Yeah, that's what readers are. That's what readers are. You know what I mean? We know what we're doing. We know what we're saying. But yes, God's number. Well, listen, all I'm going to tell you is it was manifest. It was clearly manifest that he was going to win, because I'm watching the game and I'm like, it's going to a draw. It's not going to go to a draw. I thought it was going to go to a shootout. And then the only thing that would have made it more perfect if he had scored the winning goal. Then there was one additional goal that Nico, the other African player whose mom is Ghanaian, whose family is Ghanaian, he scored another goal, but they didn't count it. They disallowed that goal because I think the refs were trying to engineer so Messi could win.
But it didn't work this time because they went to double overtime.
Went to double overtime. I think they were trying to hold out so Messi could score the equalizer.
I'm so glad Messi lost.
Me too.
Oh my God. Joy, you remember when I used to work in Miami?
Yeah.
On the Discovery Channel?
Yeah.
And when we were in Miami, I worked for the Discovery Channel, and there was a ton of Latinos down there. The people who drove me the most crazy down there?
Messi fans.
Argentinians. Period.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be quiet now because I will say some shit about it.
And they're very right wing. They're probably getting deported now because they're brown. They may think they're white, but you're from Argentina and you're going to get deportido. So there you go. So yes. Okay. So there we go. Let's play our moment of joy. And of course it is Spain wins and all the joy surrounding it.
De la sub-19 que conquistó el europeo, que ganó el sub-23, ahí está el abrazo de Luis, ya hablaremos de él, y este es el héroe del mundial, Ferran Torres, y el gol ganador al 106. Your final score from New York, New Jersey is 2026 FIFA World Cup final.
I don't want your cop hat.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, take that back.
No, wait. What happens? Watch what happens. He gets something and he goes, he wants to play with him. Because look, he gets something and he goes right back to the cop. And he's like, we're going to play, but not with the hat. He did want to play with him.
Black joy. I love
And then he kicks a goal. Let me tell you, that is Yamal, his little brother, Lamine Yamal's baby brother, who he adores and takes with him everywhere. He's his half brother. He takes him everywhere, and he absolutely adores him, and he's the biggest fan. And according to Lamine, he doesn't even know that he's famous and that he's trending all the time. He just acts like that. He's just cute, and he's so joyful. Baby boy joy. You saw in the middle, Nico Williams, whose family are from Ghana, but he's born in Spain, so he is Spanish. Remember, birthright citizenship works not just here. And of course, Ferran Torres, who scored that amazing, gorgeous, perfect, beautiful goal. So Ferran Torres, that's what you saw in the first little segment there. So congratulations. Viva España. I love that they are morally standing up in the world. I love that they won.
Behind.
And they beat Argentina.
Argentina's behind. I love it. I love it. I love it. I would have heard it. Listen, I could have watched. I didn't even watch the game. I literally decided not to watch the game.
Because you thought Argentina was going to win?
The refs was going to help him win. I didn't want to.
They tried. Didn't help.
But then I literally had to just, you get FOMO after a while.
Yeah.
But then I watched it, and then I rewound it just to see the one goal.
Yeah.
And then I started praising after that because I was so glad they lost.
And here's the reality. Here's what's so wild. Spain has not allowed a goal in like 37 games. They are like the top team in Europe. You just cannot score on them. You simply cannot score on them. You just can't. Like the England-France game was like 4-6 because Mbappe has now scored the most goals in the history of the World Cup. Mbappe. And I missed that one because I was traveling. I mean, I don't think I was at ViewerCon for that one. But Mbappe is now the highest scoring player. So look, I remember we were saying, I want to root for all the African teams. The Africans showed out, even though their teams may not have won. It was a great Viva Africa, great Global South. But I do love the Spain's
Fox
team.
To stay mad, Fox.
Be mad all the time.
Stay mad, conservatives.
Trump's a jinx.
Stay mad.
Yeah, Trump is a jinx. Thank you all for watching the Joy Reid Show. Jason, thank you for singing, says Lovey on Safe on Twitch. We got to have a good evening from Raven Wolf. Thank you to all of our folks on Twitchy. We like to talk to the Twitchies. We love to talk to our Substackies. We love to talk to all of you guys. You guys are fabulous. We love you. Let me get one more quote from Substack. We got some updated breaking news from the Substack side. Let me verify this after, but a new judge assigned to Carmelo Anthony's case as handshake deal between prosecutors and Anthony's old legal team come to light. The deal between Anthony's prior legal team and prosecutors limited the teen to a 10-minute decision to decide if he wanted to testify. Very interesting. Thank you. Education is a lamp. Clicking on this now, and I'm going to be reading up on that, and we'll get to that on Wednesday on the Joy Reid Show. Have a great night. Y'all be good, and Viva España!
Getting back to the basics, grassroots level. Let me dig a little deeper with the shovel. Plenty can't tell the forest from the trees, and I'm hard to detect, like a black hole in the dark. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. Let me make this clear, I got a bone to pick, and I'll never fear the threat of poverty. They don't want to talk about it, they rather party, so I'm a real talk about it, for sure.